and let's get a little bit of a feel for what it's going to do in a different center when it's actually going to have a different pattern, different environment, different surface, different lane oil.
Now we're talking, let's go on an adventure! We're going for an adventure? For the most part, bowlers want to see their ball hooked down lane. The bowling ball that I ended up liking the most has probably the most angle out of the options that I had. And I'm really excited to see what it does in a regular bowling sensor. Alright, we're here, so into the wild. If I were David Attenborough, I'd be like, we're expected to see here some regular lanes with regular oil patterns. And we will see how this wondrous ball reacts in its native environment.
That's a very good David Attenborough. Been practicing.
Okay, so like first things first, let's be aware of our environment. So it is a slightly older place. So the surface here is going to be a little bit older. It's going to have a little bit more friction in it. And don't forget that we hit these bowling balls with a 2000 grit pad at the facility, at the testing facility. So the first thing that you need to see is, do you get that length through the mid part of the lane to the fronts and the mids? And what's the angle like down lane? So I've had a couple of warm-up shots. I'm going to throw pin-up version right now. And I'm going to throw it with, a relatively normal amount of speed. Not super slow, not super fast, just an average kind of normal speed. And we'll give it a bit of room and we'll see how it rolls. Okay, so plenty of angle. Let's creep into a little bit more oil. Keep it going to the outside part of the lane. And I guess what I'm looking for is, even with the 2000 grit cover that we've hit it with, am I still going to see that angle? I'm going to move about 5 or 6 further left. I'll slow my speed down a little bit. Let it see that friction, and let's just see if the angle is still there, or does it bleed out too much? I mean, 5 left, slowed down, got it to the friction, 10 back. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see when you're making moves, especially on regular house shots. I actually have no idea what that is out there, but I just know it's a regular house shot. So that's something that I think is exciting to see. So let's get back right. Let's increase the speed a little bit. Let's get my hand more behind the ball, create a bit more forward roll. And let's see if the ball itself, with the engine inside and this reactor-based cover, still creates the curve that I need when we're playing closer to the track. Still seeing push through the fronts and the mids, which now I'm much closer to the friction. So that's important. You want to make sure that that ball doesn't hook immediately. It's not too responsive to the friction. That was really, really nice to see. So there's 3 different lines with the pin-up ball with a 2000 grit finish. I mean, it's only going to be even more cleaner when it comes, out of the factory polished. But to have that versatility in hand position, and obviously launch angle and where you're playing on the lane is pretty critical, especially when you're spending a lot of money to buy a bowling ball. You don't want it to be a one-trick pony. You want it to have a few different tricks up its sleeve. Okay, so now we're going to use the pin down version. It's going to give me a little bit smoother roll, a little bit more length. It's going to allow me to play a little straighter, not create as much curve, but hopefully still enough that I see really good pin action and a shape down the lane that I'm really excited to see. And I'll do the same thing. I'll throw one quite normal in the middle of the lane. I'll move way left and then I'll move way right, and we'll see how this drill-in rolls. So in the oil, certainly was a lot more controlled, a lot smoother, which is great. Certainly didn't have any problems pushing through that oil, which we knew with the reactor-based cover. But now the key is, am I still going to see that same nice big curve when I move left and slow down a little bit? I have a feeling this is actually going to be the ball I would probably want to use playing a little straighter, but let's try and curve it anyway. If we can, with the coolness of editing, rewind that and watch where the ball comes off the pin deck, that is pretty amazing. That's a pin down drilling where the angle through the pins was incredible. I mean, it rolled over the 8-pin spot, pushed all the pins back into the pin deck. You know, when I'm on tour, that's the shape that I'm looking for. If I can see my ball doing that, I will win the tournament. That's how I feel. So that's really, really impressive to have those two different drillings, but still be able to do something pretty close to each other by manipulating your hand a little bit. Now we'll try and throw it a little straighter and see what happens. It's a pretty ball. I like the way it looks. Much smoother, much less change of direction than the pin up, and that's great. So I'm going to make a little move to the right. I'm going to really get on top of the friction now and see if we still see that length. Ooh, that's pretty close. 9-pin, pins are offset. That's what I'm going to blame. But as you can see, pin down, pretty smooth. Using that oil, that right on that line where the friction meets the oil. I mean, I think it's pretty versatile. I think if I had to choose my spot, naturally I'd probably a little further left on this pattern for me right now, but it's nice to know that I have options. What did you boys see from what I was doing?
I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing, and you mentioned it at the beginning, is how clean it still is through the front part of the lane. I mean, this lane surface has got, 30 or 40 years of lineage and leaks on it. So for it still, even with that, 2000 surface, to get through the front part of the lane pretty clean, but still be smooth off the end of the pattern, I like that a lot.
And really the variety from what I've seen between the two different balls in the shapes. Now, obviously on this right now, your best look would be playing a little bit deeper to the inside, right? Utilizing that, but that's what you see on higher friction surfaces. So the nice option that we have here is that you get some different shapes. Granted, again, the lane surface hooks that much more, so we're gonna have to shift everything inside, create a little bit more angle, and just allow that ball to create some shape. But the nice thing that I saw from this is how strong that ball was going through the pins, no matter what it was, and that's what we're looking for with this ball.
Yeah. No.
All right, so pin up.
Yeah. Pin
Create
up.
some shape.
Create some shape.
Yep.
This is how confident I am. I'm not even going to watch it, and I already know it's going to strike. Oh, that is so good. Messenger 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, Messenger 10. You can hear it, you know? That's how good that ball is. With the Messenger 10. Oh, thank you very much. I can.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you very much. See you later, guys. Yep, I did. I was very happy. Yeah. The older the places that you go to, the more friction you see in the front. So you need a clean ball to get through that friction in the fronts. So many bowling balls have been rolled down those lanes. It's you want to get that extra length, otherwise it just makes it really, really hard to get the ball shaping through the pin. So to see that it still had plenty of length, really awesome down lane motion, and that pearl additive as well helps with that cleanness. I think it was a successful outing. Plus, I like that I called that 10-pin messenger. That was dope. All right, so we're in a completely different bowling center right now. The surface here, fun fact, this is actually where they have the Storm Utah Open, which actually just happened. So that's kind of cool to be on the same lanes as the Storm Utah Open. We have the pin down version here. Now, because the surface is a newer surface than where we just were, you would expect to see the ball kind of ping off the friction a little harder. It's a little cleaner through the front because it's not as much friction. So when it does see the friction down lane, it's going to really come off it hard. So with the pearl cover, with the reactor resin blend in the cover stock, I'm expecting to see quite a lot of angle. Oh, that's a considerable change of direction down lane. You know, that's something that you want to see as the day is going on, especially as the lanes are transitioning and you want to move a little further left to create that angle. Knowing that it's going to really ping off the spot gives you a lot of confidence to keep throwing it right. That's a long way out there. So, and that's the pin down ball. Let's grab the pin up and let's see what happens. Here's a trick shot. I'm going to hit just the 8-pin. Just the 8-pin. But I'm going to curve it through the gap. Oh, that is so close to actually taking just the 8-pin. It's sick. All right, so we've got the pin-up ball now. So we're expecting to see quite a lot of shape from this one too. This has been hit a little bit harder, but I think with the different drilling, we're still going to see quite a lot of angle down lane. I'm going to make sure of that as well. A little slower ball speed. I didn't quite get out of that as quickly as I was hoping, but I mean, that pin action, if you see that, that's incredible angle through the pin. So I'll make a slight adjustment off of that and see if we can't go more high flush rather than super high. About as high flush as you can go. I'll go a little further and see if we can just go flush. Plenty of angle there. You know, this is exciting for me to see. This is how I like to get, well, this is the part of the lane that I like to get to on the PBA Tour a lot. And over the years gone by, I've always migrated to balls like high roads and idle pearls, even way back when, uproars, wreckers, you know, things like that, which just didn't have the same 252 weight block that we have in this. So now the theory is, wow, I still can create a lot of angle with this pearlized reactor resin based cover, but the engine inside isn't going to let me blow through the spot, which is always, it's always one of the concerns you have when you get too far left with a real angular clean ball is if you miss left of target, your ball will actually stay in the oil for too much and it will not pick up, and you will leave yourself a 2-8-10, a 2-10, or even just, your two pin and 2-8 combination. So having that this ball has a bigger engine inside, when it's in that oil, I'm feeling like the cover's giving me that responsiveness, the angularity, but the inside is like, hey, it's in a bit of oil here. I'm gonna pick it up still. I'm gonna get this ball rolling more, and it's gonna limit that hit, which that last shot was kind of like that. It was super light, but I think if I was using, a lower RG ball, that doesn't happen. It goes past that point and comes in behind the head pin. So, all right, fellas. So, test facility, older surface, relatively newer surface, reactor resin, pro motion weight block, colors. Tell me, wrap it all up into a nice bow. Have we got a winner here? Are you happy with it? And if not, what would you like to see changed?
I think this is pretty good. In the R&D process, we're looking for strengths and weaknesses of the balls. We definitely put it through a lot of different tests, a lot of different surfaces, different layouts. I mean, really covered all the bases on this. I think that this is going to be a home run.
Okay. And you also know, watching you go throwing all these shots, you change your release a lot, you change your alignment, your lay down. We have two different layouts. We got the pin up, we have the pin down, which have dramatically different shapes and ball motion. And right now, you know that if you had these two balls, you could go on to many different oil pattern surfaces, and there'd be one that would stand out for you as the distinct advantage. And we're looking for more on the back end, and we got it.
Yeah, and to be fair and honest, as a player, that's that's my major concerns with the bowling ball is how does it roll when I change the drilling? How does it roll when I change the surface? And when I do those things, does it go through the pins really well? So as a player, watching this ball go down the lane, it's pretty, it goes through the pins really great. I can drill it different ways, change the surfaces, it ticks all the boxes for me. So thank you very much, Steve, Alex, for all of your help in this process.
Cool.